the League of Women Voters in Leelanau County, specifically the Early Childhood Needs and Services Committee. My name is Mary Kronkowski, and I'm the Vice President of the Leelanau League. The Leelanau League currently has 106 members, both men and women. To join the League, you have to be 18 years of age and an American citizen. We have information about the League of Women Voters at the table outdoors, or in the vestibule there, and also there's a sign-up sheet for additional emails, more about early childhood issues and league activities. The National League of Women Voters has long been a strong advocate for addressing early childhood needs. The organization believes that the first 5 years of a child's life are crucial in building the foundation for educational attainment and greatly impact success or failure later in life. Additionally, the League believes quality, developmentally appropriate, and voluntary early learning experiences should be available to all children. The League of Women Voters Leelanau County unit or chapter, League, our study group, the Early Childhood Needs and Service Group, was established in May of 2013. This year, our local league agreed to begin speaking out in favor at the county level for comprehensive and sustainably funded early childhood services within Leelanau County, including, but not limited to, supporting parenting communities, and also to attempt to raise community awareness of the critical role that these services play in shaping our country's future. This event is the League's second public effort in this regard, and our first collaboration with the business community to achieve these goals. Our program is being taped tonight for Up North 2 by Tom Slater. It will also be available on the League of Women Voters Leelanau website in the next week or so. I will now turn the microphone over to Patricia Salas-Little, who is the chair of the Early Childhood Services and Needs Study Group. She is also the chair of the Leelanau Early Child Development Commission, the vice president of the Suttons Bay Rotary, and the recently elected Leelanau County Commissioner for District 5.
My goodness, that's quite a welcome. Thank you. And thank you all for coming out this evening. Ooh, those lights are bright. First off, let me thank our committee. I know many of you met the study group committee members as you were going out there, but it's thanks to their hard work that we have this event this evening. And I'd say raise your hands, but I don't think anybody would see them in the dark. But thank you so much. And also thank you to our league board for their encouragement and their support throughout this project. And we'd like to take the opportunity to thank our co-hosts. As Marian mentioned, this is kind of a new venture hosting with our business community. And our co-hosts include the Leelanau Peninsula Chamber of Commerce, the Leland, Suttons Bay, Empire, Glen Arbor, and Northport Arena Chambers of Commerce, Lake Leelanau Community Association, and the Suttons Bay Rotary Club. We also want to thank our many sponsors who are working in early childhood throughout the county and are doing their part to make our youngest citizens' lives a little more rich. Their names are all listed on the handouts that you've received and the posters that you've seen posted. As Mary mentioned, our focus of our study group is to advocate. And we're advocating for comprehensive and fundable services here in Leelanau County. And when we saw this film, we thought it was an excellent opportunity to reach out to our business community and to our community at large and talk about the importance of early childhood and also the many benefits that derive from early childhood programs, not only to our community, but to our businesses and to our families. The film explores the economics of investing in early childhood programs. And you're going to find it asks the question, why aren't we doing this? Because early childhood program pays back many times more than it costs. We hope that this dialogue that we're starting this evening will carry on in the coming months, and that ultimately it will result in action. Kate Bilter will be our moderator for this evening. Kate will introduce the film, and then she will introduce our panelists. Kate was born in Cincinnati, Ohio, and she graduated in 1990 from the Concord Academy in Massachusetts. She then went to Georgetown University and studied international relations and graduated in 1994. She moved to Florida Keys post-graduation and operated 2 small hotels in Key West for about a year, and then returned back to Washington, D.C. to run a restaurant on Key Street. In the winter, I guess it was, 1976, 77, she heard that the Leland Riverside Inn was available. So she and her mother explored this, and in 1997, they purchased the Riverside Inn. And then in May of the same year, they opened the doors, and as Kate says, with barely enough experience and definitely not enough money. However, it's still here today, and we all have the opportunity to enjoy the wonderful fare that Kate and her staff continue to serve at the Riverside Inn. Kate and her husband have 1 son, Will, age 7. Currently, they also have 2 other children living with them. They're the Jacobi kids, who are children of a very dear friend of Kate's who passed away last year. Their father works in Chicago, Illinois, and the 2 youngest wanted to finish school here in Leland. The 2 oldest are already at college. Kate is currently serving as president of the Leland Chamber of Commerce, and we're delighted she's willing to be our moderator this evening. I give you Kate Hilter.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction. Welcome. I'm sure tonight everyone who's here, you have an interest in or a passion for early childhood education. For myself, this was not something that I really started off having a predisposition for, due to my educational background or my parents. Really, my passion came from being a small business owner. We've owned Riverside Inn for 17 years now. In this time, I cannot tell you the number of people who could not work for us because the hourly wage was not enough to cover childcare plus gas money, as it is often too much for the expenses in this county for young families to live in. Or if they did have enough earnings, they couldn't find quality childcare. So we had countless times when my mother or father would tell me, if I work for you and pay for childcare, I might only make $5 an hour before taxes. I did the math and it didn't work out for the parents. The past few years have been particularly difficult for employers to find help. We are coming out of recession, and there are more job opportunities everywhere, and families often can't afford to live in Leland County, so they're leaving. So that's how I initially started thinking about early childhood education, and that was years ago. And it was upsetting to me then. Here were these great parents who needed a job, or a second job most likely, and they couldn't make it work out because of childcare. It's been frustrating as an employer. And then I had a child, and here I was working on a baby. No, I wasn't in exactly the same situation. I had my own business, and I had a lot of options. I was able to afford sitters when he was really young, and as a small business owner, I could write my own schedule. And I had a really strong sway over my husband's schedule too, so it made things a lot more flexible for us. When the time came, I also had the tremendous care of the Leland Children's Center. At the time, my son was the youngest child to enter the crib, and he loved Rana and Sewa, who was Rana and Sarah, and that's how I said their names for years, Rana and Sewa. He was at the center part-time initially, and then full-time, and then he moved on into the Olympic School in kindergarten 2 years ago. He did the Young Fives program at Leland. The center programs are amazing, and what is also really amazing about the Leland Children's Center is the work this group does to acquire grants to cover as many children as they can with scholarships. As an employer and a mom, today most parents in this area cannot afford to pay for child care or quality early childhood programs. It costs a minimum of $8,000 a year for quality preschool or good child care programs, and they can't afford that here. These parents are effectively out of the job market until their children are full-time in school. Almost 20% of Leland County's children are living at the poverty line. 53% are in a single-parent home. $8,000 a year is not happening for these families. So now I'm a parent of a 7-year-old, and I can tell you that the Leland Children's Center prepared my child really well for school. I spent a lot of time at the in his kindergarten classroom. I was there most weeks during the off season, having the kids read to me one-on-one, assessing their reading levels, moving them forward and such. Those children that had some sort of early childhood education were so far ahead of the other kids. It was sad that there was already a group of bright kids in the school that were behind in the educational game at kindergarten level. And this is not just in terms of the reading, writing, and math, but also with very important social skills. So then the onus is on the kindergarten teachers to catch these kids up to their peers. Did you know that 9% of our children in Leelanau County do not graduate from high school? Research has shown time and time again that children who have good early childhood education have much better success rates throughout school and after school. So I see this issue from many sides, from the families that can't afford the child care, so they can't get that second job that might get them ahead, or help them pay off that student loan. And as the employer that wonders how much longer can we afford to have this potential workforce not employed? Can we find some way, other than an income tax credit that only benefits a few people, to help these families with their child care? And then there are these kids that are being left behind because they don't have access to quality programs. I think you'll find this video compelling, and I hope that you'll want to share it with many people and get involved. So right now, I believe we will start the video and then do the panel discussion after the video. Is that correct? All right. Do I need to turn this on? No. Enjoy.
But you.
So all the way on the end, we have Thor Meixel, who lives in Sutton Bay with his wife, Kristen, and their 5 sons. Two of their sons are in college, one in high school, one in junior high, and the youngest is in elementary school. Thor founded Meixel Family and Cosmetic Dentistry in 1999. He holds a bachelor's degree from Brigham Young University and received his DDS in dentistry from the University of Michigan. His 3 younger children participated in early childhood programs, including playgroups. Thor currently serves on the board of the Leelanau County Early Childhood Development Commission and was just elected to Suttons Bay School Board. Thor is also a Scoutmaster for Troop 33 in Traverse City and oversees the youth programs for his church. Next to Thor, we have Katie Hill. Katie Cunningham, formerly, as a Suttons Bay class grad of 91, married to a rival comet, David Hill, 6 years ago. She has a stepson, Graham, who is a sophomore at Leland, and a daughter, Sadie, who is a 4.5-year-old. And she's in her 3rd year at Leelanau Children's Center, and she has a son, Wyatt, who is 16 months old. She's anxiously awaiting for a toddler classroom spot for Wyatt. Katie says she still doesn't know what she wants to do when she grows up, but she has discovered that she can learn as much or more from her kids' exposure to high-quality early education. Katie is grateful to be in her 3rd year as a board member at the Leland Children's Center and is hopeful that all kids and families will soon have access to amazing programs that her kids do. David is her husband next to her, and he grew up in Leland and graduated in 1990 from Leland Public School. He started working in wineries in 2004, working his way from the bottling line through the cellar to his current position as winemaker, formerly at 45 North and currently at Leelanau Cellars. And then next to David, we have Amy Johnson Vellis lives outside of Empire with her son John and their son Charlie, their husband John and their son Charlie, who is a senior in high school. Their daughter Emma attends college in Minnesota. Amy has worked at Glen Lake Schools, where she is known as Mrs. Johnson for the past 31 years. Amy has taught kindergarten, 2nd and 3rd grades, and is her 4th year as elementary intervention specialist in helping students experience success in school. Her role as intervention specialist is very similar to a school counselor. Amy holds a bachelor's degree in elementary education and continuing certification in elementary education with an emphasis in early childhood development. Currently, she's working towards a master's in school guidance counseling through Western Michigan University. Sarah Eggert is married to John Eggert, and they have 2 children, Q, who is 11, and Christine, age 9. Sarah told us She is 50 years old and only mentions this because she classifies herself as an older mom and understands why most women start out as moms in their 20s. Sarah owns Pennington Collection and works full-time. Sarah and John lost a baby with trisomy 18 at just over 3 months. Henry's house at the Leland Children's Center in Northport is named after their son Henry and was gifted to all the wonderful people who helped them that year. Sarah also experienced health issues after losing Henry, but had a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old at home to care for. Sarah says she sees and believes there's a great need for support for new families and families in crisis. Nicole is a working mom who has lived in Leelanau County for 14 years and currently resides in Solon Township. Nikki, together with her husband, Chef Aaron Ackley, own and operate the Cedar Rustic Inn restaurant. They have 2 beautiful daughters, Annabelle, who is 9, and Adrian, age 6. So now we're going to start with a panel to discuss the movie that everyone watched. I don't know if some people had already seen it before. I assume the panel probably this is the second time watching. So we'll begin our discussions. Who would like to start?
I'll start so that everyone needs us. Hi. I'm going to start just so that I don't repeat what anyone else said. The film seems like common sense to me, although I have to say, when I was pregnant with Sadie and 4 years ago and had a baby and had recently just moved back to the area, I didn't have the kind of village support that I do now, and that I think for me, the Leelanau Children's Center and parenting communities and all the support that we do have locally in early childhood, I hope that can someday be available to everybody. I feel very grateful to have access to that and to have learned to be open to that. Like I said, I watched the film and it's a no-brainer. It's science, it's research, it's fact, and I continue to be dumbfounded that there's still anyone out there that argues this or doesn't see this as being important. I don't know how to get the word out there. I was telling someone tonight that I emailed the link to the film to my very conservative family.
Me too.
Unfortunately, I had in the past emailed them something else, way out there, as I'm sure they see me. So I don't even know if anyone opened it. This is close to my heart. I am not a huge fan of public speaking. But when I was asked to do this, there was no chance of saying no. It's that important. And like I said, I have no idea how to get the word out there because, a lot of my family doesn't listen to loudmouth me anymore. But I'm not going to give up, and I'm going to continue to. I can't believe Nixon vetoed this. I guess I can believe it. So anyway, you know what? I'm going to show up. But thank you, and thanks everyone for showing up tonight, even though it's so nasty out there.
I share your sentiments. I moved up here in 1998, and my husband and I married in 2001, and only his mom and stepdad are up here with us. They're our only family in the area. The rest of his family and my family are 4 hours away, so when we had our daughter Annabelle, the parenting communities sort of came to me, and I'm sitting here trying to remember how they even found me. And I remember going to a breastfeeding group through Munson, and I think that's how I first heard about it. And that's how I started taking Annabelle to Kindergarten with Patty Worm at Leland when she was 3 months old. And I'm still friends with so many of those moms, and it helped me have a connection with other moms in the county when I didn't know anybody and I didn't even have any family up here. And now with owning a business, this has been the first year that we've been able to not have childcare for our daughters who are 9 and 6. They're independent and well-behaved enough that they can be at a restaurant with us and around the area or with my in-laws. But it's a huge cost, it's a huge burden, especially in our economy right now when both parents almost I don't know what the percentages are, but 2 working parents is more common now than ever. I would have preferred to be a stay-at-home mom, but it just wasn't possible for what we got into as our line of business. So I totally agree. This film is a no-brainer, so what's going on? Why aren't our politicians fighting for this? All the female politicians we have at the state and at the federal level, like, what is going on? So I agree with everything in this film. I'm just wondering, why isn't it happening? So part of it confuses me too.
Does anyone have reflect on that? One of the questions everyone's asking is, how do you convince others? You know, we're all looking at this because we're all passionate about early childhood education, but quite obviously there's a fair segment of our population who is either indifferent or they don't see the benefit. So where do we go from here? If you have this information, how do you convince those that do have, how do you gain traction with our society to make this a priority?
I think the film in and of itself addresses that because it speaks to the bottom line, which is the almighty dollar. And I think for a lot of people, that's what they can hear and that's what they can grasp. So one way is to have public showings like this of a film like that.
Or what was your main takeaway from the film?
My main takeaway, I actually grew up out west. I was surprised to see Utah being featured there. I know that the schools out there are overwhelmed. Teacher to pupil ratios are quite high, and for some people that's a reason to move away from that state. But my main takeaway was just the return on investment. I liked that focus from The Economist and looking at how we spend money and how is it returned back to us. And we're all business people here, but a lot of we pay taxes and feel like they're just being wasted. I don't like seeing that. So.
I can't say much more than what Katie said and Nicole, but the Parent Kings community element to this was super important to me and my family when we were in crisis. There's 2 very poignant moments that this is so clear to me. Because we had a community just really rallied around us. People opened my business and made sure that we could take $1 and brought meals, all of it. It was unbelievable. But Parenting's communities, those people showed up at every moment I needed them. At the memorial for my son, I realized that I was standing around and I had no idea where my 2-year-old and my 4-year-old were. And I panicked and I looked around and I couldn't find them and I ran out the door and they're sitting outside playing with the Parenting Communities girls. And I thought, they had my back the whole time. And then after Henry had died and things had settled down and life went on, I decided to have surgery and get
my hernias fixed from having all these babies, and I got septic and almost died, and I spent 49 nights in the hospital, and my kids went to the children's center every single day, and those people showed up at my door and were there for years, making sure that we were going forward and not backwards. So, I cannot say enough how important this is to this community. And if we don't get behind it, I think we have an unbelievable, the Children's Center is huge for all of us. And how lucky and fortunate we are that we do have a great program. And unfortunately, I'm hearing about all the cuts that are happening, and we're losing teachers, and the classrooms are, hours may be shortened because they just can't, have the kids there till 5 o'clock. Well, I'm here to tell you that businesses don't close at 4. Kids need to be watched till 5:30, 6 o'clock, and they need to be watched on weekends. A lot of us are all working weekends and nights, and it's not. The reality of what parents have to do these days is not 9 to 5. It's not get your kid on the bus and you'll be home at 4 when they get there, because you won't be. So I think people need to understand really, truly what young families are going through. And if you can imagine a young family going through that and then being in crisis, I just can't say enough for what we have, and I'm very sad to hear what we're losing. So we need to get with it. And it's easy. It's easy, guys. Thank you.
David, you have already said something?
Well, I was just going to add, as an observation, regarding part of these issues, it seems to me, again, as an observation, that among other things, education, along with energy, agriculture, it seems to be a real lack of long-term willingness for long-term investment. Seems to be such a need for this immediate gratification, especially as far as money, financially. As a family that lives paycheck to paycheck, it's hard for me to even think long-term investment on basically anything except trying to provide a safe, healthy environment for our kids for that, day, week to week. But as was mentioned in that video that we saw, the money